Week 2 was one where there was a little bit of separation, but still a jumbled mess. 100 teams, 50 games, and it was still a jumbled mess. Let's take a look at the standings and then the league leaders and the achievements for week number 2. And we're going to start out with the teams and their standings. The Buffalo Bills are now 2-0. The Buffalo Bills 2-0, they are looking good so far. A solid football team. They beat Dallas 13-6 early, but they beat the San Diego Chargers 36-20. So they look good in doing so. Remember, the top 4 slots make the postseason. The 4th slot makes the postseason tournament for the 4th place teams. Then the top 2 4th place teams end up, the top 2 end up going to the next stage, which is the 32-team Ultimate Tournament. Remember that. So you want to be in the top 4. That's the biggest thing. Group B, the Chicago Bears, 2-0. Indianapolis is also 2-0. Houston, that's the biggest surprise. The Houston Oilers right now. 2 close games. They beat 96 New England, but they beat the 09 New Orleans Saints. They get by these hurdles. That's one thing of the Houston Oilers. They're built to just get by these hurdles. And they are, and they're 2-0. So Group C, the Baltimore Colts in 1968 are a very good football team. They are. Baltimore beat New England Patriots in 1985, and New England is not bad in 85. They're not bad. They got really shafted in the Super Bowl. But look at what Baltimore did to Dallas, and that was a broadcast game, and they blew them out. In Dallas, they blew them out. And remember, you might see a lot of ats and all that, but remember, we took away the advantage or the disadvantage for being on a home and a road. So basically, these are all neutral site games in the regular season. And then in the postseason, that's when you turn on the home field advantage. So that's Baltimore 2-0, and New England 2-0, the 2004 Patriots. Baltimore, again, only giving up 15 points in 2 games. Look at this, 18-3 and 19-12. So we have those 2. Baltimore and New England. Remember, any divisional games is big because any tie where they don't play each other because of the goofy scheduling, and then they all of a sudden, that's the thing. So Group D, New York, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Steelers in 1978. You might say, hey, wait a second. Well, New York and Pittsburgh, remember, New York in the last league did not do very well. They, in fact, did terrible, but they beat the Giants in the New York Derby, and they beat the 2014 New England Patriots, the world champions. The Steelers, on the other hand, 14-9, 19-14, 2 5-point wins. Just 33-23 there. When you take a look at Detroit, though, Detroit is 1-0-1. They tied Tampa Bay, and they beat 1967 Oakland. So they have an all right victory, 2002. So now we go to Group E. The Minnesota Vikings giving up 9 points. I mean, seriously. I believe this is the number 1 team right now. Now, they're all, look at this, all away, but they're all treated as neutral site games. So you can't get too excited and say, look, they went on the road at Philadelphia and Cincinnati. They did, but they weren't given any extra bonuses or disadvantages for going on the road. They were basically, these are neutral site games. Because we took them off because of the scheduling quirks like this. When we go to the playoffs, they are home field advantage. That's why you want to finish high up, and then even a high up in the first team slots and the second place slots and third place slots. But anyway, they're one of the best teams. They're unbelievable. The Minnesota Vikings right now, they're excited about that team. Everybody else has a loss, so they're all in it, including the 1995 Pittsburgh Steelers, who played a couple tough teams and only lost by 5 to each. And now they got the 89 49ers. That's a big one. For the Steelers, they don't want to go 0-3. Group F, the Green Bay Packers in 1962, a good defense. They've given up 23 points. They held San Diego to 17, and they blew out the 75 Steelers. This 62 team is legit. Same thing with the 98 Minnesota Vikings. They beat 80 Oakland by 7. And they beat Jacksonville in a high-scoring game here. They got 92 Dallas. Then they got Minnesota. That's going to be the rematch against the St. Louis Rams. We'll broadcast that game. We'll have that one. That's a biggie. How about the 88 Bengals? They're 1-0-1, and Carolina's 1-0-1. The Bengals have just all division games. So that is very big for them. The 88 Bengals here, as you take a look, just looking very good here. This is their schedule. San Diego 2006, they're a tough football team. Now, it's 2 games by a total of 8 points. And a little bit to Chicago, a little bit to Philadelphia. So this is really big. San Francisco, though, this is the one team we want to look at. You might say the 89 49ers. Man, they took a lumping. They gave up the first 30 whatever points. But Oakland, they had 600 yards of total offense. 600 in this game. That was incredible. 619. And making the 94 49ers one of the teams to watch out for. If they make the playoffs, that's huge. In Group G, the Houston Oilers of 1993. 2 good, solid games against New York and against 77 Dallas. The interstate rivalries, they go ahead. And the Philadelphia Eagles in 1980, they're both undefeated. And then there's a quagmire down there. It could be anybody still. The St. Louis Rams are 0-1-1. Remember, they lost their first game 20-10. They tied their second. At this pace, they would win their third game 30-20. Who knows? They play a 1990 New York Giants. All these games are going to be slugfests. No easy ones. Group H, the biggest surprise of the 1970 Baltimore Colts, a team that, well, they're not considered very strong, but they beat the San Francisco 49ers of 1984, and they beat the Houston Oilers of 61. They were, of course, favored in that game. But how about the 94 San Diego Chargers? Seriously, the 94 San Diego Chargers, again, they beat Houston, and they beat Arizona 41-29. How about that? That's huge. So they're there. The Steelers in 2008, they beat Kansas City by 3. We had that game broadcasted. They beat a very good 96 Green Bay team. They beat a very good team because that 96 Green Bay team, look at this, they outgained them and outdid all that stuff. But the Steelers came away with a victory here. And the highlights here, all the way down, it was Green Bay. They lost a fumble up big, losing a fumble on their own end. Desmond Howard lost the fumble there. That was big. Spaeth from Leftwich and 4th down. This was it. They were trying to win the game. 4th and goal. Favre. It is incomplete, and that ended it. So a great football game. A great one, and that ends 23-16. But that is it for Group H. Group I, Denver, 1998, they're a team. They were the defending runners-up. Elway vowed that he wanted to get back to the championship game. And his promise might come true. I don't know if it will or not, but it might come true. A 30-27 win over 1966 Green Bay. They tied their first game against 77 Denver, who's legit. You take a look at it's been tough. Cincinnati of 1981, they got whacked by Minnesota. That was a broadcast game. That wasn't any good at all. Group J, and this is the last and final one, the Cleveland Browns. 2-0. They beat Baltimore of 58, who had a big win this week, and they beat Philadelphia, who got blown out. Chicago is 2-0. They beat Baltimore 2012 and New York at 2011. Dallas of 1971 is also undefeated. In 1981, San Francisco 49ers. 2 low-scoring games. I mean, if they lose to Miami 18-17, that's that streak right there. Now, week number 2, we're going to go back to take a look at the achievements. Tobin Road had 323 yards passing. You take a look here. Brunel had 1 yard short of 500. Matt Ryan over 300. And, Cleveland had a rusher and a receiver, 1954, for 100 yards. Steve Young, 357 yards passing in that crazy game. San Diego, Dan Fouts. Los Angeles Rams are struggling offensively. Dan Marino again, what a pass, what a play. Barry Sanders over 100 yards. 78 Steelers had trouble scoring, but they ended that. Eli Manning with over 400 yards. McNabb at 324. The 62 Dallas Texans, 8 quarters without a touchdown. So they haven't scored a touchdown all year. I got to take a look at their actual, what they look like here. Cincinnati, I mean, Ickey Woods at 300, Hasselback with 384. Plunkett at over 300. Wendell Tyler, the halfback, at 126 yards receiving in the game. The Steelers of 75, 6 straight without a touchdown. That's not good. Neil O'Donnell, 349 yards. There's so many teams and so many things that can happen. Humphreys, 311 yards passing. And Santonio Holmes, a good day. Aikman, 300 yards passing there. And 98 Denver, Terrell Davis, 115 rushing. And Rod Smith, 113 receiving. Look at Tony Eason, 85. Take a look at this. Eason throws 4 touchdowns, 329 yards passing. Craig James had 136 rushing, 114 receiving. And Stanley Morgan at 114 receiving. That's incredible. So now we're going to go to the league leaders so far. So here we go. In yards, it's Mark Brunell with 745 through 2 weeks. In touchdowns, Steve Young has 8 touchdown passes in 2 weeks. Oh my goodness. Hey, that's 4 weeks. That's 64 in a year. My goodness. The one sacked most often is Norm Van Brocklin of Philadelphia. He's having a tough time. Of course, he expected that. The best rating, though, is Danny Marino. Dan Marino is incredible. And Montana, Young, then Montana again. Cunningham is up there. I mean, they're the usual suspects. I guess the only one that I didn't expect in that whole top thing is Stan Humphries. Stan Humphries is doing an excellent job at quarterback. The worst quarterbacks are Trent Dilfer. Oh, dear goodness. Bob Greasy had a 72 Miami. Oh. Terry Bradshaw in 75 in Pittsburgh. Yeah, 5 interceptions. He had 4 in one game. That ain't good. Kenny Anderson, not good at all. Dawson, Carson Wentz. Bradshaw again for 78. He's not getting any love in this game the first couple weeks. Terry Bradshaw. He's not getting any love. Len Dawson, you expect some of these. Bledsoe, McNair, and Goff. Jared Goff has been pretty bad so far. So, rushing-wise, your biggest yards, Frank Gifford. In 2 games, 269 yards. That ain't bad at all. Receiving, total receptions, Randy Moss, and that's Andre Johnson. And total yards is Cruz and Thigpen, Yancey Thigpen. Pretty good. Touchdowns, Jones, Walker, and Taylor. Their team Walker, look at that at 53, Detroit. And the average here, the longest one, Larry Fitzgerald at an 85-yard, I believe was a touchdown. So total offense, we did all of this. Total yards, total offense. Sean Alexander from Seattle, Wendell Tyler, he's used most. Craig James is incredible. Then Cruz and Thigpen, but then you have Gifford and Stewart. I mean, this is a lot of running backs. A lot of running backs are doing well here. Defense tackles, you got Gerald Hayes from the University of Pittsburgh. Gerald Hayes, the starter there, University of Pittsburgh, 32 tackles. That's averaging 16 a game. Oh, my goodness. Ray Lewis, Baltimore, 30. There you go, and that's that. Sacks so far, Burgley from Philadelphia, Ray Seals from Pittsburgh, and Lalo Alzado from 83. There's some really good ones. Interceptions, a few have 2. That is the highest number. Fumble recoveries, Bonacone and Hicks. And touchdowns defensively, there has been 7 of them. We had that one by Shinnick. Shinnick went all the way. I almost fell out of my seat on that one. So anyways, the kickers, the most attempts is by Stover. The most made Stover, the highest percentage. Well, seriously, when you're only 1-1 in Miami, 26 yards. But the highest point total is Matt Stover, 31 points in 2 games, 31 points. The punter, Rick Tootin for St. Louis has been out 20 times in 2 games. You know, the best average is Green for Chicago at 48.3. The longest punt, 68 by Green. Blocked a few. And inside the 20, the best ones here. Kick returners, the best average is Preston Pearson. And he's incredible. Oh my goodness, he's averaging 54 yards a return. Longest 97, so he must have had 2 really long ones for Baltimore. Punt returns, same thing, your average. Sherman, actually. Richard Sherman for Seattle. Mel Gray's, oh my God. You can't let Mel Gray even touch it. You let him touch it, it's done. So anyway, that's it for today. That is the lead. Go looking up week number 3. Some good games coming up, especially 99 Jacksonville and 94 49ers. That is a heck of a football game. That's one that we probably will have early. That's going to be an offensive game. 85 Bears against 86 Denver. That's a big task for Denver. A few of these here. 79 Houston taking on the 08 Los Angeles Rams. That's huge. Looking down New England and New York, 2 undefeateds. Buffalo and Detroit, big 78 Steelers against 68 Baltimore. That's going to be in the first day, 2-0 against 2-0. That'll be a very unique one. We might have that game. I don't know. There's a few. I think Jacksonville and San Francisco, but still, we got to see the 78 Steelers. We have to. Chicago, Cincinnati, this would be day number 2. Minnesota is going to be tested against Seattle. Chicago, the Rams against Tennessee. Now look at this, the 49ers of 89 against the 95 Pittsburgh Steelers. And the San Francisco 49ers against the LA Raiders need a win. They have to get it. It's big time they need to win. This is going to start separating all these teams. The St. Louis Rams against the New York Giants, they want to go 1-1-1. That's big. Carolina and Indianapolis, that'll be a big one. The 75 Steelers against the Buffalo Bills, that'll be a huge one. And New England against Minnesota, that'll be big. The Chargers against Baltimore, look at the Oakland Raiders. The Steelers again. 98 Minnesota against 92 Dallas. What a game that'll be. That'll be a tough game. And Miami, San Francisco, New York, and Miami. That's big. Miami should be favored in that one. Well, you never know. Denver against Kansas City. New England against Green Bay. The 2005 Steelers are 1-1 against Steelers in Dallas. Oh, well, you can't beat Steelers in Dallas. That's a huge, huge rivalry. Anytime Steelers in Dallas. That is big. So anyway, that's week number 3. What a exciting first couple of weeks. Baltimore and the Steelers, that should be a very unique matchup here in week. We're probably going to open up with that, but we will see you for week number 3.